Hi, good morning, everyone. How are you today? I hope that everybody is okay. And I'm also hoping that everybody is ready to listen for our first topic, which is entitled We Can Do It Revisiting Slack Team Functions. It is an honor for me to be one of the speakers in this training because I always wanted to share whatever I can to all the participants, especially the teachers like you. Okay, so let me present to you the terminal objective of this session. So at the end of the session, participants will be able to prepare LAC official communication documents like letter, school memorandum, following the standards prescribed in DepEd Order Number 30, Series 2019, or DepEd Manual of Style or the DEMOS, and then identify the composition of LAC team. So that will be the terminal objective of this session. Let me present to you the enabling objectives. The first one, identify important components to be prepared in conducting LAC sessions. So we have issuances and letters, LAC team composition. And then for number two, discuss the elements to be considered in crafting issuances and letters composition of LAC team. And for number three, prepare necessary documents before conducting a LAC session. The school memorandum and letter. So, having these objectives for this session, I am requesting everybody to listen carefully to the discussion that for today because as I have said as I present in these slides, there will be output at the end of this session. I'm going to present to you a picture. Please say something about this picture. You may encode your answer in the chat box. So do not worry because every answer will be considered correct because I am asking or I am soliciting for your perception of the picture. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that. And I'm also requesting our moderator to kindly read the answers being encoded in our chat box. Okay, thank you very much for all your answers. As I have said, all of them are correct. Dear participants, this picture was taken, I think, January of 2020, just before the COVID pandemic. And you are right, it was one of our meetings conducted during that time. Now, having this kind of activity, may I ask you, what do you think were the preparations being done before this activity conducted? Okay? Please give me the idea. You may write your answer on the chat box. And again, I am requesting our moderator to kindly read the answers. Okay, thank you very much for all your answers. All of them are correct. And the bottom line of that question is that there are certain preparations being done before an activity is conducted. Let us focus on the saying that if we fail to plan, we are planning to fail. So, this session, I'm going to give you the knowledge and the ideas about the preparations being done before a SLAC session is conducted. But before we proceed to that, let me present to you the principles in writing or in business writing. Yan. Ensure that your writing observes the following principles. So the first principle is keep it or clarity, keep it clear and simple. Avoid using jargon. Use the active voice of the verb as much as possible. So, let us keep in mind that when we are preparing a business letter or an formal communication or official communication, see to it that we are expressing our message directly. Let us not use highfalutin words or words that are difficult to understand. Let us use the terms or the words easily understand by the readers. And then conciseness. Keep it short, brief, and direct to the point. So avoid flowery words. Make it simple, make it direct to the point. And then completeness. Provide complete and necessary information. Of course, if you are reading a certain communication, there might be some questions in your mind. Now, it is very important that as you read the communication, you are also getting the answers to the questions that you have in your mind. So it pertains to the completeness of the information, the activity, the participants, the time, the date, the venue, so on and so forth. The important details must be seen or should be seen in the communication that you are making. And then concreteness. Avoid vague terms and language. Do not use idiomatic expressions and figures of speech. That is true. We should not use this kind of expressions because it will only create confusions and difficulty in understanding what you are trying to say to your readers. Instead, you must use ordinary terms which are easily understood by the readers. And then consistency. Ensure that your documents are consistent in spelling, grammar, punctuation, hyphenation, capitalization, typeface like bold, italic, underlined, among others, and abbreviation. And then coherence. Follow a logical sequence in your discourse. So to avoid confusion, you must observe proper sequencing of the thoughts or the idea of the formal communication. Courtesy. Always build goodwill in your communications. Be polite and courteous to your readers. And ma-share ko lang pagdating dito sa courtesy, there are times na it's not advisable to use chat or text messaging system when we would like to say something to other person, especially if the content of the message is complicated. Why so? Because there are times hindi natin intensyon na maka-offend sa reader ng ating message. Pero there are also times na parang ang dating nito ay nakaka-offend. And I don't know if you have experienced such kind of situation wherein you felt offended pero nung nagkausap kayo ng sender, hindi naman pala ganon yung ibig niyang sabihin pero yung dating lang sa iyo, parang nung binasa mo ay pagalit pero hindi naman pala siya pagalit nung habang ginagawa or habang kino-compose yung message. So, I'm trying to say this because hindi lamang ito sa ating mga formal communication writing, kung hindi, dun sa ating day-to-day communication with our friends, with our loved ones, we must always take into consideration yung courtesy, and we must always be sensitive with how our readers would feel once they have read your message. So, yung courtesy, lagi natin yang i-consider. Lagi tayo ay maingat, maayos. And if I may suggest, ito ay dagdag na, if you are communicating using the chat or the SMS system or the SMS, um, ang aking suggestion, lalo na kung ang ating kausap ay mga bata, estudyante, or mga parents, avoid using abbreviations. O kaya yung sino-shortcut yung mga salita, yung ang nababasa natin ay yun na lang mga, ano tawag doon, patinig. So, inaalis masyado ng iniigsian. Why don't you use the complete spelling of the word? In that way, yung inyong mambabasa, lalo na kung ito'y estudyante, magiging aware siya doon sa tamang spelling ng mga words na ginagamit natin, instead na puputol-putulin natin, kaya parang hindi nagmamarka sa kanila na ganito pala yung tamang spelling. Well, ayan ay mga simple reminders lamang kasi parang napapansin ko na yun ang karaniwang ginagamit. Pero, ako hindi ko ugali ang magputol-putol ng mga salita. Kahit sino ang kausap ko, buo kong sinasabi ang mga salita, Tagalog man ito o English. Okay. I'm going to present to you some words. And may I request you to say something about each word. Sige nga mga kasama, say something about DepEd issuances. Okay, moderator, please help me read their answers in the chat box. So, anong masasabi ninyo pagdating sa issuances? Ano ito? Or ano yung naiisip ninyo? Ano yung naaalala ninyo pagdating dito? Do not worry again because your answers will be accepted since this is to be discussed. Kaya walang maling sagot ngayon kasi ito yung pagkakaunawa ninyo. And then later on, kayo na lang yung magko-correct sa inyong sarili kung tama o mali yung inyong naisagot. Okay, so please type your answers in the chat box. And moderator, please read the answers and let us find out who among the districts in this platform is the most active. Sige nga po, sulat ng inyong mga sagot. What can you say about DepEd issuances? Okay, thank you very much for all the answers written on the chat box. And thank you, moderator, for reading their answers. Later on, you will discover if your answers are correct. How about this one? Yan, DepEd order. What can you say about DepEd order? Again, moderator, kindly read their answers. Okay, thank you very much for the answers. How about this one? Memorandum. What comes into your mind when you hear the word memorandum? For sure, all of you have read a memorandum or have seen memorandum. Okay, please say something about memorandum. When you open our website, you usually find the memorandums. Okay? Moderator, kindly read the answers. And moderator, please tell us who among the districts in this platform is the most active or who has the most active participants. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Let us proceed to the discussion of these uh, matters. Yan. The DepEd official issuances and letters. DepEd issuances. They are official documents containing policies, procedures, and or information released and signed by the secretary or other authorized officials. So take note of the word official documents. So the DepEd issuances are the official documents released and signed by the secretary or other authorized officials. And DepEd issuances like DepEd order, DepEd memo, unnumbered memo, and advisory vary in their content, effect, duration, and activity. It is suggested that the titles of DepEd issuances be 2 lines at most. So please take note of these words, 2 lines at most. Before, kung nakakabasa kayo ng mga memo or natatandaan ninyo before, ang title ng memo minsan nakaka 3-4 na lines. Ang haba-haba na parang pag binabasa mo siya or hindi mo pa siya binabasa, parang bigat-bigat, ano ito? Yun, ngayon, ang suggestion sa atin, use 2 lines at most. Meaning to say, the shorter, the better. And take note that we are going to follow the QMS or the Quality Management System guidelines because time will come, hindi lamang po ang Binyan City yung SDO ng Binyan ang mag-i-implement ng QMS sa atin, kung hindi, ang buong bansa ay susunod na rin sa guidelines ng QMS. And itong mga sinasabi ko sa inyo mga kasama ay bahagi ng QMS. So, kinakailangan ito na yung ating susundin. DepEd order or the DO. It contains policies promulgated by the central office which are general or permanent in nature. So, dear participants, please take note of the words general or permanent in nature. So, yun talaga kapag sinabing DepEd order, ito yung ating batas. Batas ng DepEd ay ipinalalabas through DepEd order. Basic contents of the policy guidelines to be enclosed to DepEd order or office order. Okay, so based on DepEd order number 13, series 2015, which is the establishment of a policy development process at the Department of Education. So kung kayo ay nakapagbasa na o nakakita na o nakapag-scan or nakapag-scrutinize ng isang DepEd order, makikita niyo or mapapansin niyo ang kapal-kapal nito. Bakit? Because ito yung contents nito. The rationale. Ano ang nilalaman ng rationale? Brief background of issue to be addressed, reason or reasons behind the creation of policy, the purpose of the policy. So this rationale is very important to be mentioned in a DepEd order because it will justify the need to have that kind of DepEd order. And then the scope, coverage of the policy, which may be in terms of subject matter, stakeholders affected, or jurisdiction. So yung sakop, hanggang saan ang sakop ng DepEd order. And then definition of terms as applicable, meaning terms are used in the policy, especially if terms are frequently used and are unclear. It is it is very important to have this definition of terms because it will avoid confusions. Syempre, doon sa isang DepEd order, kung may mga terms na laging ginagamit pero hindi naman maliwanag, ano ba ang pakahulugan ng term na ito sa policy sa DepEd order na ito. So kung hindi siya maiipaliwanag ng ayos, it will only create confusion to the readers. So kung ito naman ay naka-define na maliwanag, so maliwanag na maiintindihan yung DepEd order. And then the policy statement, the principles, rules, standards that the order seeks to uphold. We have the procedures, the steps or instructions, the systems, mechanisms for implementing the policy. And then monitoring and evaluation, the mechanisms, time frame, and other provisions for progress monitoring and policy evaluation. We also have the references, the related and relevant DepEd issuances used as reference for further policy research. And there is the effectivity, the transitory provision as applicable, which is the date or period of application. Okay, so those are the contents of a DepEd order. That is the reason why one DepEd order is thicker than other documents. And we are going to discuss one by one later on ano pa yung ibang DepEd issuances na dapat alam natin. Alam natin, hindi lang alam ko hindi, dapat alam natin, we must know them enough that we can be able to do our own in the school level. And that is one of the reasons why we are having this session. We are discussing the preparatory activities before conducting a LAC session because those are important elements. And kung hindi natin ito papag-aralan, paano kayo makakapag-prepare ng maayos na mga documents pagdating sa pagko-conduct ng LAC session? The next thing that we are going to discuss is all about the DepEd Memorandum or DM for short. Ano naman ito? So, yung mga nagsagot kanina, mga kasama, inyo nga pong pakicheck kung tama ang inyong sagot dito sa ating binabasa ngayon. When we speak of DM, it disseminates information, instruction, or related matters including creation of the committees or task force or forces, submission of list or reports, announcement of celebrations, surveys, holidays, examinations, contests, or results thereof. Now, in this definition, I would like you to take or to focus on the words disseminate information, instruction, or related matters. So, disseminate. So, yun lang yung purpose ng DepEd ng memorandum. You have to disseminate information. That is why you are making a memorandum. So, unlike the DepEd order, which is general in nature, ito naman, mas mababaw. Nagdi-disseminate lang siya ng information to the concerned readers. Yan. And then, conferences or seminars conducted by the bureaus, centers, services. Reiteration of regulations or laws issued by other agencies and departments. So, ito yung mga purpose ng isang DepEd memorandum or memorandum. Yan yung mga pwedeng nilalaman dito ha. And then, DepEd memo has 17 elements. Ating pag-aralan isa-isa kung ano yung mga elements na yan. Yan. I'm going to show you a sample format of DepEd memorandum. By the way, the one that I'm sharing with you, came from DMOS or the DepEd Manual of Style. So ito'y doon ko kinuha mga kasama. Now let us take a look at it. Let us find out the 17 elements of a DepEd Memorandum. Ano yung mga nilalaman pag sinabing elements? Ano yung mga nilalaman nito? Okay. We have the letterhead, number 1. And then, date of approval or release. Number 3, control number with year series. By the way, I would like you to take a look at the spaces. Consider these spaces when you make your own memorandum. I-observe ninyo yan ha, because as I have said earlier, we are following the guidelines based on the DMOS or the DepEd Manual of Style, which contains the guidelines to be followed when we are implementing the quality management system. And yun nga, for your information lamang po mga kasama, nagkaroon na tayo ng pilot implementation ng QMS sa Binyan City. So, time will come, tayo rin dito sa ating SDO, susunod na din tayo dito sa QMS na ito. And right now, we are actually starting to do some or to follow some of the guidelines included in the QMS guidelines. Next, number 4, title of the DepEd memo. So as you can see in the example, dalawa lang yung linya na na-occupied ng title niya. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, the shorter, the better. At yan ang suggestion. Next, for number 5, we have the officials concerned, policy proponents and implementers and stakeholders. So dito naman nakalagay para kanino ang memorandum na inirelease. For number 6, statement of the activity. So, ano yung meron sa memo na yon? Ano ang bakit may memo? Ano yan? Yan, kinakailangan yung activity, ilalagay agad dun sa unang bahagi. Then, for number 7, the objectives of the activity. Ano yung layunin? Bakit may memo? Unang-una may activity. Sinasabi ng memo may activity. Ang sunod, ano yung layunin or objectives ng activity na yon? And then, for number 8, statement of the enclosure in support to the activity. So, ano yung mga enclosure? For example, attached herewith are the list of participants or enclosed are the list of participants, blah, blah, blah. Or the matrix, o kung ano pa yung mga importanteng mga attachment dito sa memorandum na ito. Then, the target participants. Who are the target participants of the memorandum? So, for example, the target participants are the teachers from kindergarten to grade 3. O, ganon. And then, parents of the learners from kindergarten to grade 3. So, ganon yung mga example ng mga participants. And then number 10, contact details of target participants. Yan. Next, for number 11, closing statement which directs the dissemination of the DM. For number 12, signature of the secretary. You know, dear participants, if you could notice, yung mga nauna nating mga ginagawa, yung memorandum, ang nakapirma doon sa proponent, ay makikita ang pangalan doon sa first part of the memo. Pero, dito sa bagong format ng memo, ang proponent o yung DepEd secretary, o kung sino man yung highest official in the school, ay siya yung nakapirma sa likod, sa last part na ng memorandum. So, I would like you to take a look at that, take that into consideration when you make your own memorandum. Ang inyong pangalan ay sa likod ilalagay at hindi na sa unahan. And then, we have, ito, number 14 ang nauna. Yan, number 13, statement of enclosures, if any. So, kung may enclosure, halimbawa, sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, enclosed are list of participants. So, ilalagay nyo lang as stated. Kasi binanggit na naman doon sa memo kung sino yung mga, o ano yung attachment nito. And then for number 14, related and or repealed previous issuances used as reference, if any. So, kung may mga ginamit na mga naunang mga issuances as reference, ilalagay din iyan. Kagaya nito, reference none to be indicated in the perpetual index under the following subjects. And then, what is number 15? Classification in perpetual index for easy reference and research. Number 16, yan. The tracer, including the initials or name of encoder, file name of the DepEd memo, assigned tracking number, and data prepared. So here, siguro magtataka kayo, bakit may tracer? You know, tracer is very important so that whenever whenever there are questions arise, it will be very easy to determine or to trace who did the memo or who encoded the memo, and for clarification. Kinakailangan nakalagay doon, for example, ang nag-type nito or ang gumawa nito ay ako. So, ilalagay ko doon ay APO kasi Aurea PO code. And then, title of the memo. For example, ay meeting for the DepEd voucher program. So, yun ang aking title ng meeting. And then, ang tracking number. Ang tracking number po, mga kasama, ay nagmumula, kunyari sa inyong school. So, yan ay suma total ay pang 120 memo na ng taong ito. So, ilalagay ninyo yung, kunyari, 000120. Kasi 120 na yon. And then, the date prepared. Ang date ay, ngayong August, kunyari ay August 11, 2022. So, ganun ang nakalagay dito sa tracer, ha? And then the footer. It includes the address of DepEd, the contact numbers, and the website. So, ito ay DepEd kasi ang memo na ating pinag-aaralan ngayon ay sample galing sa central office. Kaya ang mga data nito ay pang central office. Yan. A memorandum with limited application is similar to a DepEd memorandum but is limited only to regions or offices. It is limited in scope and it has only 13 elements. So, dun pa lamang sa elements, makikita ninyo yung malaking diferensya. Kanina ay 17, ngayon ay 13 na lamang. At saan nagkakaiba itong DepEd memorandum from memorandum? It has limited application. Konti yung scope niya, limited lamang, unlike sa central office na memo na malawak or sa buong Pilipinas ang visa nito. Pero, I think there are cases wherein DepEd memo has also limited, yung may limit ang scope nito, depende sa pangangailangan. Pero this time, let us focus on the 13 elements of a memorandum. So, ipapakita ko uli sa inyo para maging familiar kayo ano ba yung mga elements ng memorandum. Again, the sample format of memorandum with limited application, ito'y kinuha ko doon sa DMOS o doon sa DepEd Manual of Style. Yan, the first element as usual is the letterhead, which includes the DepEd seal with the agency name in the Old English text empty. Mamaya ipapaliwanag ko rin sa inyo ano yung mga font style o font size na gagamitin natin. So, meron mga variations iyan and later on, didiscuss ko din yan sa inyo. Number 2, date of release or approval. Number 3, control number with year series. Kita ninyo? May pagkakaiba ba ito doon sa nauna ng pinapresent ko sa inyo? Okay, so wala. Number 4, officials concerned, policy proponents and implementation and stakeholders. And then for number 5, title of the memorandum. Number 6, statement of the activity. And number 7, objectives of the activity. Of course, number 8, target participants. For number 9, contact details of the project proponents. And then number 10, closing statement for dissemination of the memorandum to regions and division concerns through email. So, nakasampu na tayo. Let us move on to number 11. So, ano yung number 11? Yan. Signature of the undersecretary of their specific area of concern or strand. Number 12, the tracer, including the initials of or name of encoder, file name of the assigned tracking number, and date prepared. And for number 13, we have the footer, which includes the address of DepEd, contact numbers, and website. Now, before we proceed to another slide, let me share with you that if ever you are asked by your school head to write or to prepare official communication like memorandum, if you are going to ask, Ma'am, ako po ang gumawa ng memorandum. Ako po inusap ng principal na gumawa ng memorandum para sa upcoming activity namin. Kunyari, buwan ng wika, kasi ngayon ay Agosto. So, Ma'am, sino po ang peperma doon? Ako po ang gumawa dahil ako ang inusap. The answer is, the signatory of that memorandum is your school head. Bakit? Ako po ang gumawa. Bakit po siyang peperma? Simply because your school head is the highest official in the school. Therefore, he or she is the one who will sign the memorandum. Ano po? So, yun ang sagot dun ha sa tanong. Kahit sinong gumawa niyan, ang peperma ay ang pinakamataas na official sa school. Kung ito man ay school level. Ngayon, kung ito ay district level, it will be the district supervisor who will sign the memorandum. And syempre, kung ito ay division level, ang peperma nito ay ang ating superintendent. Kahit na kunyari, hindi siya ang gumawa, pero siya yung peperma. Office Memorandum or OM. It disseminates instruction or information on officials, personnel, and staff from the central office. Okay. So this OM disseminates instructions or information on officials, personnel, and staff from the central office. Signed by the secretary or undersecretary, assistant secretaries, or heads of bureaus, services, or offices concerned. Its concerns are limited to a bureau or unit at the central office. Hence, it only applies to limited officials and staff of central office. Its application is usually short or temporary. So, ito ay, as you can see, ang focus lamang nito ay pang central office. It only applies to limited officials and staff of central office. So, hindi ito para sa atin. Pero, why am I discussing to you? Just because I would like to have a comparison as to the elements of a memorandum. Ito kagaya nito, sabi ko nga sa inyo, may limit lamang yung kanyang scope. Doon lamang karaniwan sa limited officials and staff of central office. That is why it has only 11 elements. Ano-ano yon? So, hindi ko na siya ipipresent sa inyo gaya kanina kasi nakita nyo na naman yung mga presentations as to the letterhead, date of release or approval, title of the OM, the officials concerned, policy proponents, and then the statements of the activity, objectives of issuing the activity, date and venue of the activity, and then closing statement for the dissemination of the OM within the DepEd central office. Signature of the secretary, The tracer, which includes the initials or name of encoder, file name of the OM, assigned tracking number and date prepared, and of course, the footer, which includes the address of DepEd, contact numbers, and website. And ito po iyon. Now, let us discuss these citing enclosures. So, yung kanina yung sinabi ko sa inyo, yung mga, yan, ito, example, mga enclosures. Cite all enclosures in the main text and number these in the order that they are cited. So, kung paano siya na-mention dun sa main text, ganun din ninyo isusulat siya kung may mga enclosures kayo. For a single enclosure, state enclosure to DepEd order or DepEd memorandum rather than number 1. For annexes, label these with numbers. So, ito yung example. Enclosure number 1 to DepEd order number 2, series 2013. So, this is an example of how you are going to present an enclosure. So, please take note of this dahil baka yung inyong gagawing memo ay may enclosure, ganito ninyo siya ipe-present. Then, the referencing style. So, yung may mga memorandum na may mga references. Pero, usually, kapag sa school level, kung nagkakaroon man ng mga references, ay hindi kasing dami kung ang memo ay nanggaling sa division or sa region or sa central office. So, you are going to cite reference or references in the main text. These are either DepEd orders or DepEd memorandums with the number and the year series when these were issued. If the DM or DO was cited in the main text, the number and the year series should be in parentheses. So, may mga pagkakataon kasi na yung mga DepEd memo na yan and DepEd orders na may mention na yan doon sa main text, doon sa body ng memo. And ganito nyo siya ipipresent. For example, DepEd order number 1, series 2016 or DepEd memorandum number 1, series 2016. If there is more than one reference, they should be written as follows. O, eto naman ha, mga kasama, kapag ka more than one ang references, eto naman yung pagsulat. DepEd order, colon, open close parentheses, number 13 and 19, series 2016. Etong isa naman, DepEd memorandum, colon, open close parentheses, number 16 and number 19, series 2016. So, I'm hoping na nakikita ninyo yung difference kung paano sinusulat or paano inilalagay ang references. Let us proceed to indicating subjects under perpetual index for research purposes. Indicate subjects related to the issuance or issuances for research purposes. Please refer to Appendix 6 on the list of subjects used in the perpetual index which are arranged alphabetically. So take note of the words arranged alphabetically. You know, dear participants, if you wanted to have a complete idea of different things pertaining to the manual of style, you may download DepEd Manual of Style. Nandun po lahat-lahat. Hindi ko naman po siya pwedeng i-discuss dito one by one kasi kulang ang ating maghapon kung yun ay ating tatalakayin. So, pinili ko lamang po yung mga bagay na sa palagay ko ay angkop doon sa topic na ating pinag-uusapan ngayon. Pero, why am I saying this to you? Kasi baka may mga tanong pa kayo sa sarili ninyo na hindi natatouch ng aking discussion. Ang sagot maaaring doon yung makukuha sa DepEd Manual of Style. Then the Perpetual Index to Regulations. This Perpetual Index is a document containing the list of subjects appropriate to each DepEd regulation or issuance. This is used as a guide for easy research and quick reference to DepEd regulations and issuances. The perpetual index is prepared through indexing the approved DepEd regulation or issuance by subjects. The subjects are arranged alphabetically while the regulations are done chronologically. The perpetual index applies only to DepEd orders and memorandum. At the end of the year, this is prepared in a bound copy and is available at the Public Affairs Service Publication Division for research purposes. For the list of subjects used in DepEd orders and memorandums, see Appendix 6. So, hindi ko po ini-attach dito ang Appendix 6. But, as I have said, you may download the demo so that you can see the complete list of all or everything about these things that I am discussing to you. So, ito naman yung mga tracking number kung paano nag-a-assign. So, yan ay depende na sa inyong school kung saan kayo nagsimula. Accurate recording and knowledge of all requests for DepEd issuances is important so that this can be located quickly and efficiently. Hence, a tracking number assigned to each request and issuance upon receipt is essential. And tracking number starts at 001. Yan. And then indicating tracer. So, napaliwanag ko na po sa inyo kanina itong mga bagay na ito, itong mga tracer na ito. Hindi ko na siya uulitin. Yan, the letter formats. When we speak of letter formats, eto naman, sige nga, matanong ko kayo, dear participants, when do we usually do or compose letters? Para sa natin ginagamit ang letters? Kailan tayo sumusulat? Sige nga po, pakilagay ng inyong sagot sa chat box. Dear moderators, please read their answers. Sige nga po, let me see who among the participants are the most active. Okay? Pakilagay sa chat box ang inyong mga sagot. Kailan kayo gumagawa ng sulat? Or para kanino kayo sumusulat? Hindi po kasali dito ang love letters, ha? We are referring to official businesses. So, dito sa DepEd, sino ang sinusulatan natin dito sa DepEd? Okay? Please read. Mr. Moderator or Miss Moderator, please read their answers. And mere looking at the responses, will you please tell us who among the 3 districts are or is the most active? Who has the most active participants? Okay, thank you very much. Sige nga po. Tingnan natin. Okay. So, yan. This is a sample format of a letter. And to give you the answers of my questions earlier, when do we do this business writing? As for me, based on my experiences, I wrote several times to different personalities for different purposes. For example, let me share with you, when I was in Santa Clara Elementary School, we had a LAC session or a training about action research. And for the participants or for the teachers of Santa Clara to be able to have a very comprehensive discussion about how to conduct action research, I sent letter of request to our superintendent requesting Ma'am Oyi or Ma'am Aurelia Vivas to be our resource speaker. Now, itatanong ninyo mga kasama, paano po ang pagsulat ng pag-i-invite ng resource person? So like me, what I did, I addressed the letter to Sir Bulaños, who is our superintendent. And then, nilagay ko po siya through channel Dr. Victoria Pababier because she was the SGOD chief then. Siya yung aking sinulatan. And then, in the body of the letter, dun ko na-mention na ini-invite, humihingi ako ng permiso kung pwedeng ma-invite si Ma'am Vivas para maging resource speaker namin sa aming gagawing inset, sa gagawing inset to be conducted on, tapos yung eksaktong time. So, yun ang nilalaman ng aking sulat yung event, anong meron, kailan, saan. And then, it is also important if we are going to include in the letter who would be the expected participants. Why? So that the resource speaker, for example, available naman si ma'am o kung sino man yung iniimbitahan natin available, kinakailangan alam din niya sino magiging audience niya. Why? Para ma-adjust niya ang kanyang, kunyari kung gagawa man siya ng slides o yung manner, yung approach niya, maihanda niya ang sarili niya sa kung paano yung strategy na gagamitin niya dahil ito yung kanyang audience. So for example, dun sa letter ninyo sa isang resource speaker, kung ito man ay hindi pang lock session, ang speaker ay mga parents. So i-adjust ng speaker ang kanyang manner depende dun sa audience. So kung halimbawa, ang audience niya ay hetero, mayroong nag-aral, mayroong hindi nag-aral, so kinakailangan ang magiging imik doon ng resource speaker ay may Tagalog at may English. Hindi dapat iimik ng puro English kasi baka hindi siya maintindihan ng ibang participants o ibang attendees na hindi naman talaga mataas ang pinag-aralan. And I'm hoping na nakukuha ninyo yung idea na eto po kapag sumulat tayo, yun munang hepe o yung pinakamataas na posisyon, pinakamataas na, So in our case, superintendent, naka-address o naka-true channel dun sa chief. So for example, ang nire-request ninyo ay isang supervisor. Kunyari ay English supervisor. So ang sulat ninyo ay kay Sir Bulaños, naka-true channel kay Ma'am Cora Cumia, and then, ang inyong ini-invite sa letter ay si Ma'am Leila Seco kasi siya yung English supervisor. So, kung halimbawa naman, ang iniimbitahan nyo ay si Ma'am Cora, so yun ay Sir Bulaños, direkta na nyo yung sasabihin na ini-invite niyo si Ma'am Cora. Why so? Dahil, ang nakakasakop mismo or ang immediate superior ng Ma'am Cora is si Sir Bulaños. Kaya, direkta nyo na siyang susulatan. So, just like this example, kung makikita ninyo, wala na siyang, hindi siya naka-true channel. Maybe because yung concern, yung tao na iniimbitahan niya, ay direktang immediate superior nitong si Ma'am Maria Marlene Yusores. Okay po. So, ganun po yung nagawa ng sulat. Kasi in the past, nagkakaroon din ng kalituhan na naidirekta natin yung sulat sa tao mismo, pero hindi po yun yung tamang protocol o hindi po yun ang tamang SOP or the Standard Operating Procedures. Okay. Ito, please take note of the spacing. Hindi na po natin tatalakayin yung nilalaman nito. Sinabi ko naman sa inyo, in-explain ko na kung paano ang nagsusulat, ano yung mga dapat gawin, and then yung spacing. Siyempre, dun sa content, magkakaiba-iba po tayo. Depende sa purpose ng inyong pagsulat, yun ang inyong ilalaman. Pero, take note ulitin ko ang consideration sa content ng letter. Yung tao na iniimbitahan, ano yung topic, kailan ito magaganap, saan, and the target participants should be included in the body of the letter. So, yan po ang format. Pwede naman kayong gumamit ng semi-block or yung naka-block style. Okay? So, yan. The DepEd issuances shall have the seal at the center. So, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. Right now, I am discussing to you the size and the font style to be used. Ito po yung official. Kinakailangan ito yung ating susundin dahil papunta na nga tayo sa QMS at ito yung nakalagay sa guidelines na dapat nating sundin. The DepEd issuances shall have the seal at the center. Below the seal is the Republic of the Philippines set in all English text, empty, 12-point size, bold. The Department of Education is set in Old English text, empty, 20-point size, bold. And then the DepEd memo and all the rest are in Bookman Old Style 11 point. 11 point. The footer is 8. So, take note of this. Inyo po itong screenshot kasi ito ay importante and this is official. Kasi ito, ang pinagkuhanan ko, ito ay official communication. So, tandaan po natin doon sa inyong gagawing output, ito po kinakailangan ang ating i-observe. And para naman po doon sa magre-react, pakitanong po doon sa gumawa kung ito ay sinundan. So, yan po paki-screenshot. Okay. About the LAC team, ito naman po yon. The school head, the learning facilitator, mentor, coach, learning peers, documenter, external resource speaker. If you will notice, I'm just presenting to you the LAC team members. So hanggang dito lang muna po ako because other facilitator or other resource speaker will discuss all about LAC team. So, ayoko naman po siya ma-preempt. Kaya ito na lang muna yung ibibigay ko sa inyo. Who are the members of the LAC team? So, sila po iyan Abangan na lang po natin ang mas maliwanag na discussion about them. Okay, I'm going to present to you a sample memorandum from our division. Sige nga po, in the chat box, will you please identify the parts or the elements of the memorandum that you can see in the sample being presented to you in this slide? Okay, sige nga po. Kindly write your observation. Moderator, please read the answers given to us by the participants, and as I have said earlier, kindly identify the most active participants, the district with the most active participants, and I would like to recognize them because they are giving their efforts in order to participate, in order to cooperate with the activities being given in this session. So may I request you to identify who are they? Okay, so please read the answers and thank you very much for the responses. Alam niyo po, itong pagsagutin niyo dito, it only indicates that you are learning something. Dahil ito yung ating pinag-aralan kanina, and most especially, you are going to apply this in your output. So, kinakailangan po ngayon pa lang nare-realize ninyo, nakikita ninyo, ito yung mga nilalaman ng memorandum kasi nga po ito yung gagawin ninyo. Okay? So, may mga sagot pa ba? Pakibasa, Miss Moderator. Thank you very much for all the answers being given. Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy that you are learning. How about the next slide? What are the elements being found in this portion of the memorandum? Moderator, please read the responses coming from our participants. Thank you very much for your answers. I'm happy that you are very cooperative, very active in our very simple yet very how do I say that? It's simple but very fruitful. Fruitful because you're able to show to us that you learned something out of this discussion. So thank you very much for the cooperation, and I'm so happy that you are learning. Now, at this point, I'm going to give you the activity. So you are going to prepare the necessary documents in conducting a LAC session. So what are those necessary documents? You are going to write a school memorandum about a certain activity, and then letter to the resource speaker. I'm not going to give you a template. Hindi ko po kayo bibigyan ng template. Why? Because you are using your own template in your respective schools. Pero kung yung template naman ninyo ay hindi pa siya sumusunod dun sa tamang format, dun sa binigay ko sa inyo na size and font style, inyo pong gumawa po kayo ng bago base dun sa ibinigay ko sa inyo. Dahil yun ang ating susundin. So, school memorandum and then letter to the resource speaker. Okay po ba? So, do you have questions? Ulitin ko po ha, wala po itong template dahil ang mga school ay may kanya-kanyang template. But if you are going to use your own template, make sure that it follows the font size and the font style that I have given you a while ago. So, yun na po talaga ang susundin natin. Ganon din po doon sa letter to the resource speaker, nakalagay din doon ano yung mga gagamitin. In all other communication sa DepEd, meron po nung nakalagay. Okay po, thank you very much. And before we end this session, let me read to you this simple quotation. Before anything else, preparation is the key to success. So with that, allow me to say thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for the active participation in this session. I'm happy that through your participation, I was able to know that you learned something out of this discussion. So thank you very much, and see you later po para sa presentation of your output. Huwag kayong magpaka-stress mga kasama. Huwag ninyong gawing complicated yung inyong mga topics. Make it simple, yet the elements of memorandum can be found in your output. Sige po, happy working and bye-bye!